One of the hardest hit departments during the federal worker mass firing has been the Internal Revenue Service. Last week, the process of laying off more than 6,000 new and newly promoted employees across the country began. All of this happening during the height of tax season. So joining me now is someone with intimate knowledge of how the IRS functions, Danny Werfel, the former IRS commissioner under President Biden. Sir, thanks so much for taking the time and being here to talk this through with us. I really do appreciate it. These mass firings, I'm wondering, do you think they'll be detrimental to this tax season? If so, how detrimental?
I think it's going to be detrimental on many levels. First, I start with why are we doing these layoffs? The stated reason is for cost efficiency. But I think you learn on the first day of business school that the financial bottom line of any organization is both cost and revenue. And the IRS is the accounts receivable department for the U.S. government. It is the primary source of revenue for this country and this government. And therefore, by cutting our accounts receivable, you actually both reduce revenue and reduce cost efficiency. So I think lower collections to fund our government is a mistake. And of course, doing this in the middle of filing season is highly disruptive, and it risks delays in people getting their refunds and their tax credits.
Last month, you stepped down from your position on President Trump's inauguration day. Your term wasn't scheduled to end until 2027. I'm wondering why you decided to step down then.
Well, I had every intention of finishing my 5-year term, just like all previous commissioners had. But after the election, but before January 20th, President Trump announced his intention to nominate a new IRS commissioner, essentially making a decision to go in a different direction. And I wanted to support the Treasury transition and the Trump administration transition as much as possible. And so I stepped down so as to not to be a distraction, so that the IRS and the new Treasury Department could get their new choice for commissioner confirmed.
And I'm wondering what you're hearing from your former colleagues still working at the IRS and maybe even those who've been laid off.
Well, I think it's always important to understand who the IRS employees are. Their moms, their dads, their Little League coaches, their community volunteers, their veterans, thousands of veterans and members of military families. They don't work in Washington, D.C. mostly. 98% of the IRS workforce works in cities, suburban areas, and small towns across America. And they're distraught because they care deeply about the mission. They know collecting taxes is unpopular, but they're committed to it because how important it is to our country. And a common misconception is that cutting the IRS means your taxes will be lower. And that is just not the case.
Do you think the way DOJ is working, these mass firings and tearing through agencies like the IRS, is helping the American people?
Yeah, look, I never want to be a defender of the status quo. There's always room for improvement, and there is absolutely a lot of room for improvement to reduce error and waste in the U.S. government. The reality is that there are a lot of smart, talented people in the government who have been working this issue for years and have made substantial progress and have cut billions of dollars in fraud and error. That doesn't mean they figured out all the answers. So the government should welcome new input from the DOJ and from the Trump administration. But I urge them to work with the employees in the government today, build on their successes, throw in new ideas and chart a path forward. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you will. Don't fire these employees.
Danny Werfel, the former IRS commissioner under President Biden. Sir, thanks so much. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.